Hello, everybody. This is our 40th greatest move of all time. We're doing a series on the 50 greatest moves of all time. We are, I think, 20% of the way through, if I'm any good at math. This game is between Kramnik and Shirov in 1994, two of the best to ever play. And both of them were in their prime at this point, I think. So, a good game. It's going to be a fantastic move by Black once the pieces stop moving, and we'll examine what's going on and see if we can figure out what the tactic is here when it shows itself. Okay, so we're in the mid game. White has a lot of space. Black is going to try to, gets the bishop out of there before it gets too cramped. Ooh, pawn, take, queen, loses the bishop. Oh, but threats of queen coming in. Okay, and defense. And let's see what's going to happen here. Okay, so white attacks the knight on g4 as his last move. And so now it's black's turn to move. So this is where you try to find what is the 40th greatest move of all time. Go ahead and drop in the comments what you think it might be, whether you know it or whether you don't know it. And if you already know it and you've never seen this before, then that is pretty amazing, because this one is kind of hard to see. You know, there's black only has, 4 pieces that are left in the game. They're all involved in the attack, but he needs to obviously coordinate them in order to really get going. White has his pieces near his king. They're aiding in defense. But yeah, it doesn't really look like there's a ton going on in this position. So, which makes black's move all the more amazing. So, pause it if you haven't seen it. Otherwise, we will take a look. In this position, black plays rook to e4, which, interesting. I think this is the first time in our series that the evaluation bar actually does not like that move. I think you saw it even go slightly more towards white. So normally when we do this move, sort of the move that we're really looking for, it's, the evaluation bar is already heavily in favor of the player making the move, or it turns it in favor. But in this case, black is still losing. So white can hold on and win this game if they move correctly. But in the game, let's see how this rook sacrifice or potential rook sacrifice plays out in the game. White does not take that rook. He takes with pawn, takes back, pushes his own pawn, rook takes, threatens to promote for a queen. Black just ignores it and moves his rook back where it was, able to be taken. White does not promote yet. Oh, white can't, or white, if white promotes, the queen takes. Sorry. So that's not an option just yet. He does promote. Takes the knight. Queen goes right back where it was. It likes that spot. Rook defends. Black takes another pawn. Now the pawn gets pushed again. Double up those rooks. Double up the rook and the queen. And now you see the evaluation bar turning towards black, right? Takes. Check. Gets out of check. And now that black can stop this promotion, it's a win for black. So that's how that game played out. Let's see if we can figure out why white does not take the rook when he first has the chance. So in this series, this is the Analyze with Me series. And the reason we're calling it that is that sometimes I have to figure out what's going on in a variation that was not played in the game. So in the game, let's see. So white can take with knight or the pawn. So let's say pawn takes rook. Then what happens here? Takes back. This rook is now in danger. Let's say that this rook, where can this rook go? Can't stay there, can't go there, can't go there, or there, or there. So this rook is sort of lost. So what might be an okay move is rook to e. Oh, look at that evaluation bar. Wow. So that did not go well. Why? Because of just obviously rook takes on f4, and the king is now going to get hunted down. Let's say he goes, oh, then it's just mate in 2 with a little queen check and bishop block and mate. Good night. So that's what happens if, and let's say he doesn't, let's say he blockades maybe. So obviously still win for black. The idea here is that I think you can just take the rook. Yeah, you just take the rook. If you take the bishop, then you lose the queen. Good night. Okay, so this is why taking with the pawn was super dangerous for white. Let's say that he tries to take with the knight instead. What happens here? And you see the evaluation bar switch again. So the idea here is, I think if you just take back with the pawn, then the rook is again in a similar position where, no, he can just move out of the way this time. Okay, so now let's say that he just moved on out of the way by going, let's say he doubled up his rooks. Then, can you just take? No, it does not work because then the rook will just take back and there's no follow-up. So let's see, what's the idea here? Black is still winning. Can you just push pawn? No, don't. Analyze with me because I'm looking at this. Rook takes pawn. Yeah, okay, rook takes pawn. This pawn is now pinned down. What do I do here? You can't take. Queen takes. Queen takes. Let's just say he defends. Let's say he defends the queen. Okay, so that, no, that's slightly worse. So a little bit better move. I'm not sure I'm going to find those here. And that's definitely not it. What's a good move here? I assume it's not queen there. Maybe that's here. It's here. Oh, now it's is dead. So if you're white, how do you keep it in? Do you sacrifice? No. Darn. I know. Sometimes you do. You move the king? No, I guess you can hunt it down. The queen takes somewhere shows. Try there. Probably not. Queen 6. Okay, get here. I don't know. You put it back? No. What's the move? You can't move the pawn. You can't move the bishop. Okay, so white can do what? Now he's losing. Sounds so tough. What do I do here? Shoot. Oh, some material. So let's see here. He can give back material. He moves his king. Can't get out of danger. Oh man. I don't know what it is. How do you lose that? How do you try queen? Oh man. I can't figure it out. Here? No, oh, the rook? The same rook? Oh, that's that different? That's amazing. No, you think you would be about 0.4. Okay, so I got to be short. Okay, see, it was even else. I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say, here's something I want. We'll say that's something like this. Black can move what you do. Use crashing, right? No, I'm terrible. Push? No, I'm still winning. No, it's only, oh, it's okay. It's here. What can't we do much? I mean, that's not better. Oh, that's a move. Why did I get a move? You get queen from here? No, why not? Oh, okay, let's check. Just kidding. That's a move. Okay. So white is slightly ahead. The queen trade loses. So what's here? No? What's everything white does? Make it work for him. What's, oh, you want to go here. You want to protect this. You go back or something? You bring the rook over? I don't know. You can't go back. That's got to be worse. Yeah. Okay, I'm giving up on this one. I'll solve this one later. Black's winning. So this was, all of this was from, if we recall, if when white tries to take with the knight, instead of the game, if you take with the knight here, then this was the continuation we were looking at. Looks like this puts black up ever so slightly, and with the correct play, which I cannot figure out, maybe you can, then black can keep the advantage and try to win this game. So the rook to e4 move, like I said, unique in that it does not lead to a immediate advantage for black, but white has to play very carefully. In the game, he did not, and black was able to take advantage. This may have been a move where I assume white probably looked at it for a very long time trying to figure out what was going on. So maybe it was a time control type of situation where maybe he spent a whole bunch of time trying to figure out all these lines, right? Because this is crazy complicated. I can't even figure it out looking with the evaluation bar and having the, being able to move the pieces back and forth, much less figuring out in real time without those aids. Okay, so this was, again, our 40th greatest move. The rest of the series should be down to the left, and like and subscribe. Okay, thanks for watching. Hello, everybody. We're back with our 39th greatest move in chess history. We're in our series on the 50 greatest moves. We're calling this series an Analyze with Me because while I've seen the best move, obviously, because we had to choose them, I often have not necessarily analyzed what some of the other lines might present. So I have you help me figure out what else might happen in the game or what should have happened and what the best moves are. So When the pieces stop moving, that means we've arrived at the key position. Right now, it's still mid-game. Black is winning, but the key move has now arrived. So the pieces have stopped. Black is going to do something amazing here. What earns him the 39th move? Oh, sorry. This game is between MacDonnell and Boden back in 1869. That's back when they actually knew how to play chess. No, I'm just kidding. Back then, the games were often less precise because they didn't have computers to analyze, but the tactics were often off the charts. So, what does Black do here? Write it in the comments if you know, or if you think you know, and pause it if you need some more time to figure it out. Otherwise, we will proceed, and the move is Queen takes on F3. Did you see that one coming? Because I've seen some queen sacks, but they're usually not. I don't know. This is a position you don't normally see a queen sack in. So nice move. The follow up I think is a little bit obvious, but we'll see how we get there. So in the game, we'll show you what happens, and then we'll talk about what else might have happened. So in the game, you got to take the queen, right? You just have to. What's the follow up? Bishop check on H3, and there's only one move to make. You have to move the king over. What's the idea next? Obviously a rook lift, right? You're trying to slide this rook over and slide up. So what does White try to do to prevent this? All that he can do, queen to c2. That was literally the only option, right? Anything else loses on the spot. And then the really cool rook sacrifice on d4, which is just like, what? There's so many. How did it? And what's the idea here? Is let's say that this is not what happened in the game necessarily. Oh no, this is what happened in the game. In the game, bishop takes, and then what happens? Knight takes. How pretty. So pretty. If rook takes, good night, game over, drive home safely. And I'm attacking the queen, so the queen's got to go somewhere. And, let's say that the queen, because the queen still wants to guard this square. So let's say that the queen, I don't know, the queen doesn't really have anywhere to go. Let's say that the queen goes here. Then what happens? Well, the eval bar tells you it's mating too, right? Rook to g6. So sick. What's the idea? This bishop has still cut off that diagonal. So the queen has to take. And then once a queen takes, what's the idea here? Yeah. Knight to e2. And I think knight to f3 also works, right? Two different ways to checkmate with the knight. The knight attacking, the bishop cutting off. What a cool checkmate. So going back a couple moves, once rook takes, it's all over but the crying. I don't think there's anything else. What could White even do if he wants to try? He could do something like that, right? Oh no, rook takes rook and it's over. So he's down. Is there anything else to do here? I don't think there's anything else to do. So that one's all said and done. We'll go back a couple moves. So yeah, queen, that was forced. That was all forced. So in the game, yeah, so once queen takes on f3, all you can really do to delay it is to not take. Right, once he takes, there's literally no way to get out of it. Check, the rook lift. Is there anything else to do here? Yeah, I don't think there's anything else to do. So that's it. Queen sack on the knight. What a nasty. And then this, yeah, I sort of like the continuation. That's a nasty move too. And then the knight move is nasty. There's a bunch of nasty moves, but we'll give it to the queen takes on f3. I think a couple of these follow-up moves could probably be another one of our greatest moves by themselves, maybe. But we'll call it there. If you like this series, if you're learning something, I'm learning a lot by studying these tactics. I made a couple of nice moves in the game recently because I was channeling my inner 50 greatest moves. So yeah, if you like these videos, subscribe, and there'll be more of them down here and to the right. I think I'm getting that direction now. Maybe it is one day. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye. Hello, everybody. This is our 38th best move of all time. So, as usual, we will play the game while we talk through it. So, this is our series of the 50 best moves of chess all time, where I'm reviewing the moves that I think are amazing, stupendous, whatever accolades you want to give them. I examined a lot of games and a lot of moves and came up with my top 50. So, this game is between Mikhail and Hecht, maybe, from 1962. So this was quite a while ago, but it was a good game. And let's see here. When the pieces stop moving, that means we've reached the position where we do the amazing move, and here we are. So take a second, pause the game if you aren't sure what the move might be, and examine the position. We'll look at a couple of ideas right here. This pawn, obviously, on G7 is just one square away from promoting. It doesn't really have a path to promotion right now because the rook is blocking it, but that's important. This knight is active. This bishop is active. Either rook can jump into the game really quick along the e-file. This knight is attacking this bishop, though, so that could be a problem. So if you think you know what it is, write it in the comments. And otherwise, we will take a look and see what the move is. So in this position, white plays the amazing. You ready for it? The stupendous, the as you expected, bishop to f5. Is that what you expected? Is it? So that's an amazing move because it's not a check. It's not forcing anything. It's just a gentle question to the queen. What do you want to do? Do you want to move? Do you want to take? So we'll examine what happened in the game after this point. It's actually a good while longer in the game until this game is finished. And we'll see, and then after that, we'll look at some of the other lines. So in this position, with the queen being attacked, what does black do? He just takes the bishop on h4, leaving his queen. Okay, so then bishop obviously is going to take queen. Now bishop attacks on c4, and the check. The knight jumps in, attacking the king. King moves up, bishop moves back. In this case, the knight is undefended, but this bishop is undefended. So it's like, hey, you want to trade? Black just says, I'm going to get this pawn. It's just causing me trouble. And then that was also a double attack on g2, right, with the knight and the rook. So it wasn't just taking the pawn. It was doing two things at one time. King takes, bishop takes. And then you can see from the evaluation bar, this is pretty much an even game. White has a very slight advantage, even though black is up 1 point material. Knight out. And then we'll just look to see how this game. So rook takes over the open file, rook check. Rook check again. They dance around for a minute. Okay. White's starting to improve the position. Move that knight out of there. Doubles up the rooks. Bishop attacks the rook. Knight jumps in. I'll take that. Rook attacks on b4. Rook grabs a pawn. Rook grabs a pawn. Just a little pawn grabbing here. See who can grab the most number of pawns. And then once all the pawn grabbing stops, the winner of the pawn grabbing contest is going to be take the trades rooks. And when the rook goes to attack the pawn, I'll just put the rook right in the way. And at that point, black resigns because he's not going to be able to stop this pawn from promoting. Let's say that he tries to go rook here, push, back, and too late. It's a queen. And now you're just down a rook and he may try to push and keep going like this, and he would promote queen himself, and then the rook would just sack, and then you could push the pawn, and you would win. So that is what happened in the game. We're going to go back and do a quick analysis of what another option might have been. And I think in other analyses is what shows why this move I thought was so cool. Back, 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 back. Okay, so in the position when bishop takes on f5. So the obvious attack if queen takes, then what is it? It's the big old knight check. King gets out of danger by going here. Thank you for the queen. And now I'm defending this pawn. So now white's up 1.3 with a nice strong attack. Even if, well, knight could take, then you take, but you're still down. Actually, still same. White's still up about the same. So that could be a possible line. Let's see what else we got. Okay, so that's if queen takes. Now let's see what happens if queen decides to... queen doesn't really have anywhere else to go is the interesting thing. Let's say queen comes down here. Why not? Whoops. Mate in 1. Do you see it? This one's a fun one. If you don't see it, pause the video. Otherwise, the knight jumps in with the very nasty mate knight to d6 because all these squares are cut off. The pawn's covering that square. The bishop's covering that diagonal. The knight's actually attacking, and the bishop is cutting off that diagonal. So many pieces involved in that checkmate. So that's what happens if black tries to clear out the queen. And I don't know if there's anything else worth doing in this position. I mean, I guess black could take the pawn right now. But then, you still lose queen. You could take back here, maybe. And then, this is actually pretty similar to what happens in the game. So, white's up just a little bit either way. So, sort of no matter what, white had a good game going. The bishop move just sort of, it was a dead even game before that move, and then he was able to take advantage after that. So, bishop to f5 is our 38th best move of all time. We hope that you're enjoying these videos in our series, and more of these videos are down here to my right. If you like what you're seeing, then like and subscribe. Okay, thanks for watching. Hey everybody, this is our 37th best move of all time in our 50 greatest moves of all time series. So we're looking at a game from 2022, Magnus Carlsen, the best player of all time, versus Fabiana Caruana. This is in I think a blitz or a rapid championship. But given how good these players are, you're still going to get a good game. So Magnus has the white pieces, Caruana has the black. We are waiting to see what the amazing move is. This is number 37 we're looking for here. Some trading of pieces. I took the evaluation bar off because it gives too big of a hint for what the correct move is here. So you'll just have to endure without an evaluation bar. So trading off queens, we got bishop and 2 rooks. Against the bishop and 2 rooks, it's pretty even still. It's dead even material-wise. Magnus clearly had a good position, but there doesn't seem to be problems in Caruana's position either. A check, another check. Oh, Magnus picks up a pawn, so he's up a pawn now. That seems to be Magnus's style. Let's see what happens here. Check. Rook's on the back rank. That's always a good threat. Oh, he gives up the bishop. Check. Rook. Oh, this is getting hairy. Takes, rook over, and the pieces have stopped moving. So this is the key position in the game. It's Magnus's turn to move with white. Write in the comments what this move is. You may have seen this. This is a pretty famous game and famous move. So take a minute, examine the position. You can see that Caruana wants to come in here, rook takes, pawn because the pawn's only defended by the king, and that's it. And he'd have the king and the rook attacking, so that's maybe his threat. Take off the arrow here. And otherwise, Magnus, I mean, he threatening this pawn, but he can't do anything about that yet. Otherwise, the position seems really solid, not much to do. So, if you haven't seen this before and you're ready, then a hint if it is checkmate in one move. So, now that you see that, I'll turn it on so you can, just in case you don't believe me. So, mate in one. So, if you couldn't find it before, I hope you can find it now. And the move is the astounding rook to e4. And so one of the reasons that move is so amazing, not because it's hard to find, right? Like once you realize it's a mate in one, there's only one move. But the cool thing is one that Fabiana did not notice, who was, I think, or still is, often considered the top 5 players, and think in this position or in this situation, he was considered the second best player in the world. So not only did he miss it, but it's just like, it's hard to see when you're just watching the game. Like I was looking at this game and I'm like, okay, where is it? Where is it? And then he makes that move and you're like, oh, well, yeah, of course, obviously, right? So there's not much evaluation, right? Because there's nothing else to do. This is, I think this may be the first best move of all time move that has ended in a checkmate, if I recall correctly. So we're on move 37. I'm going to have to go back and double check that, but I'm pretty sure it is. So, again, there's nothing else to look at. This is our second game by Magnus Carlsen. I think we may have another, we have at least one more. It's going to be a top 10 type move. So, these are our 50 greatest moves of all time. We are marching towards the best move ever played in chess. And I hope you are watching, liking, subscribing, and looking forward to more of the videos that are down that way. Okay, thanks for watching. Hello everybody, this is our 36th best move of all time in our Analyze with Me greatest 50 moves of all time series. So hopefully you've seen some of our videos before, but if not, we just play the game, and then when the pieces stop moving, that means that we're going to examine the position and try to figure out what the amazing move is in that position. So this game is from 1970, being played between two people's names I cannot pronounce, Marangunic and Ljubojevic, maybe. And black is Ljubojevic. So this game is pretty equal up until the last couple of moves, and when black takes advantage, which is right about now, and the piece stops, which means this is the move. So in this position, what does black do? Take a minute. There's only 3 pieces really that are left on the board for black, so not a lot of options to choose from. And write it in the comments if you think you know what it is. And don't write in the comments after you've already seen the answer. That is clearly not, that's cheating, right? So we will see what the move is. Again, pause it if you're not sure yet. So in this position, black plays the pretty astounding, even though it's relatively simple, rook to b1. Again, there's only 3 pieces in the position. The black bishop really can't go anywhere, so that probably wasn't an option. The queen, unless it's looking for some sort of sacrifice, not there. The rook's the only piece. So the question becomes, why does rook to b1 earn this 36th greatest move ever spot? Partly because it's so simple, partly because the idea is very nice and elegant. In the game, white resigned. White's like, okay, I understand what's going to happen here. Let me call it a day. But we'll look at some of the options. Queen takes is the first idea, which is an average player probably would just take it because, let's see what happens. And the answer here is pretty simple. The powerful pawn to f3 is the one that calls it a day. you can see that it's mate in 3. So white has what's called spite checks, and that is just where you check even though you've lost the game. So, for example, white could come back and say queen to b8 check, block with the bishop, queen takes check, you take with the king, and now there's no more spite checks. And so this is where no matter what move white decides to make here, he moves the rook out of the way. Queen to g2, checkmate. So that's what happens if white takes the rook. What else could white try here? White could, try to defend the rook because it's being attacked twice. And so the problem here is, you can see mate in 2, it's actually the same move. Pawn to f3. Now, the problem is that the queen is trying to do too much. It's trying to protect the rook. It's trying to hopefully not get taken by the pawn. So if it takes the pawn, the rook slides in for checkmate. And if it tries to, let's say it moves out of the way to not be taken by the pawn, well, now you have checkmate anyway. And the last sort of good attempt that white could try here, instead of moving the queen, instead of taking the rook, you actually can go knight to f5. And you can see from the evaluation bar, it stays where it was. And that's a weird looking move, but that's the only move that leads to the game going on for a little bit longer. So if black was to take the knight, he loses the rook. So in this position, the rook could just take the queen. And now, in order to not be mate just yet, or no, sorry, where does it go here? So, just take. Sorry, takes rook, and then if you push the pawn, which has been mate before, now you can go knight to h4, and the idea that that knight is stopping that checkmate. So white is still losing because eventually black is going to get its bishop, wants to attack this knight, and then once this knight is out of the way, mate is coming. So that's a temporary delay, but that was actually white's best chance, is to just give up the queen for the rook and try to keep playing on. So that is our 36th most amazing move ever. Again, not a hard one to find tactically, but very simple idea of just pushing that pawn eventually to f3 and threatening checkmate. So if you enjoyed that video, hopefully you learned something. Like and subscribe, and check out some more of our videos in this series down over here. Okay, thanks for watching. Hello everyone, today you're in for a treat. This is our 35th greatest move of all time. And this game is between one of the best players, arguably the best, well, Magnus Carlsen's better, but this one is maybe the second best player, Bobby Fischer, and Benko. Game from 1963. Fischer is playing white, and if you've never seen this game, you're in for a treat because, as Fischer liked to do, he just unleashes some moves that are just out of this world, where you sometimes wonder where he came up with the idea. So, when the pieces stop moving, we know that we have arrived. White is already up in this game, and now he's up even more, and he's ready to make his move that we're deeming the 35th best ever. So, take a look at the position and figure out what you think white should do here. This is a hard one to find if you haven't seen it before. And even if you have seen it, but it's been a while, it's hard to remember. So, write in the comments what you think it is, and pause the video to give yourself some more time. You may have to pause it for a while to find this one. So, hopefully you have figured it out. It is the pretty amazing rook to f6, double exclamation mark. In the game goes on for another couple of moves, but ends pretty shortly. So we will play what happened in the game, and then we will discuss why this move makes any sense at all, because when you first see it, it's hard to understand. So in the game, bishop does not even take rook, because we'll see a little bit. Pawn push, and knight simply back to e2 just to get it out of danger from the pawn. And even though that move doesn't really accomplish much, the position is just so difficult for black. You can see from the evaluation bar, he's down 5 points. And even though I never played Bobby Fischer, obviously, I'm pretty sure that being down 5 points to Bobby Fischer meant you were going to lose your chess game. So we're going to go back a couple moves and figure out what the idea behind that amazing move is. And so in this position, what's the idea here? So the idea is that Fischer wants to connect his bishop and his queen in attacking on the f7 square. But in the position as it was, if he simply pushes the pawn in an attempt to do that, you can see from the evaluation bar it goes back to even, because now black can simply block with f5. And even if you take en passant, then black's coming in with this. Yeah. Oh no, not. Let's see. Why did that not work? Because black. What does black do here? Must be something pretty obvious. The mate threat is still there. So how do you? Oh. Again, you've seen this in previous videos, that sometimes you're paying so much attention to the evaluation bar, trying to figure out what's going on, you miss obvious things in the game. So that's why that would not have worked in the game. And so this pawn push is why Bobby does the move that we looked at first, which is the rook to f6. And this is called an obstruction sacrifice. And because he's actually sacrificing his rook to obstruct this pawn on f7 from jumping in the way, right? So the obvious question is what would have happened if bishop had taken the rook? So you can see mate in 4. Now, instead of the rook being in the way of the pawn, the bishop's in the way of the pawn. So that's why that would have been a problem. You can see that the bishop and the queen are now lined up, and it's going to be difficult for black to get over there and defend. I'm not even sure what he does to delay it to mate in 3. If he just... Can he push the pawn? Yeah, okay, then you just take. Yeah. I mean, it's over. Other ideas in the game are... I don't know if there's anything better. I mean, you can ignore it like we said, like the black actually did in the game. You could, let's say you just take the knight, then you're pushing the pawn, and then it's the same problem that you had before. This is an interesting one. At least the bishop is now defending the pawn, so what can you do here? I think you can just sack the rook. Yeah, you sack the rook, check. You go here, then I'm checking you again. Bishop takes, and then the queen slides in anyway because it's protected by the bishop. I guess really arrow should go that way, right? So that is move number 35. Is the very nice sacrifice of the rook, or potential sacrifice of the rook on f6 to stop white pawn on f7 from getting in the way. So I hope you like that move. If you figured that one out without having seen it before, then give yourself, I don't know, like a cookie or some gold stars or something, because that's a hard one to find. So I hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something. Subscribe to our channel and check out some more of the videos in the series down. I'll put them down underneath me this time. Okay, thanks for watching. Hello everyone, today we're going to be looking at our 34th greatest move of all time. We are looking at a game from 1956 between Tao as the white pieces and Simagin with the black pieces. This is our, like I said, our 34th greatest move on our march to the greatest move in chess history, which we will get to in, I don't know, a couple weeks probably. When the pieces stop moving, we're at the key position. We like to examine the game and see how it got to that point. So we're already there. So in this position, pause the game, take a second, and try to figure out what would be a interesting move to make. There's a lot of options, right? The queen, can go here with a check, can go here with a check. The rook can try and get involved. So there's a couple of options that would be normal moves in this position, but then they wouldn't be the 34th greatest move of all time. So write in the comments what you think it is and pause the video. Otherwise, we'll take a look at it. And in this position, Tao plays the very quiet but very spectacular rook to b1, threatening the black queen. So what does black do about that threat? We'll see what happened in the game, and then we'll talk about some other variations that black could have pursued. So in the game, black says, hey, rook, I'll take it, thank you very much. Takes, and then now we go check to c4. The idea is we're going to try to drive this black king onto a dark square, which he now has to go to because this rook has that file cut off. Can't stay on the light squares. Knight's blocking this other light square, so he's going to a dark square, and when he does, the big check with the bishop and a discovered attack on the queen. So the king gets out of the way. Queen gets taken by the rook. The bishop gets taken. And then it looks like this is going to be a tough finish because, so queen is about equal to both rooks. And then the knight and the bishop are better than the rook. So white looks to be down, but then he makes this threat, which is a threat against the bishop and the pawn on b7, a double attack. When black saves his bishop, white comes crashing in, and now it's going to be gobbling up pieces and keeping that king in check. So check, knight takes, check, king moves, check on b3, king moves, check, 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 check. Okay, and then queen takes on e5, so that was the first non-check in, I don't know, about 10 moves or something. So that gets the position, gets the material a little bit more equal here. And then now we're going to see how white finishes it off. Moves his king up the board and then sacrifices the rook so that he can then take the bishop. I don't know why that was necessary other than it looked cool, but whatever. Not my game. Rook stabilizes the middle of the board, keeps his rooks protecting each other, but that drops another pawn. And so now it's a queen versus two rooks, which again is about equal, but white has 3 extra pawns. So then at this point, this a pawn is a passed pawn, and the passed pawns must be pushed. So here comes the a pawn. Gets the queen out of the way so he can continue pushing that pawn. And then in this position, black really just doesn't have much to do. The king is out, sort of in the middle of the board, at least a couple rows up, but these rooks cannot get to him in any meaningful way. So queen check, and I will sacrifice the queen on the rook because, well, once that queen gets taken, white is simply going to promote to another queen and then the upper queen to the rook, and then that's an easy victory. So we are going to go back to when the rook goes to b1 and see what else black could have done. It's quite a long ways back. Okay, so in the position, rook to b1, we're saying that the queen is being attacked. So let's say that instead of taking the rook, the queen decides to go to, let's just say, let's say a5. So you can see the evaluation bar, that's worse for black. So I think the idea here would be check. And then white has to go a couple of options. Let's say that black goes back. And then you can come crashing in with the rook. And you can see how this queen and this rook are attacking this knight. That's going to be dangerous. You can protect it, but then eventually this rook is going to come in and it's going to be a big problem. So another option, instead of going queen to a5, maybe the queen goes back to c7 to protect the b7 square. But in this situation, I think we like, is it still the same check? No, not as good. 2.5. How about this? Oh, no, that's a terrible move. Why? Eesh. I'm not sure why that's such a bad move. Is it this check? No, it's not a check with the queen. Oh, how about this? Yeah, okay. Bishop to f4. Interesting. This pawn is pinned down because of the queen attack, so it's not a check, so black can make some other move. Let's say that he brings the other bishop in. Oh, that's not good. So now we come in for the check. Yeah, now we come in for the check. And then this bishop actually cuts off a square from the king. Let's say he backs up again. Oh, and now you're dropping that. Yeah, and it's all over but the crying. So that was if black tried to bring the queen to c7. And I'm sure, I mean, since this rook to b1 move is not a check, that leaves a lot of moves for black. But he has to be very precise here because white does have the rook and the queen headed up towards the king. So that was our 34th greatest move. Not a check, not a, I don't know, I mean, not a attack against the king, but it does make it so that black has lots of problems in the position. So if you like that move, if you learned something, then like and subscribe to our videos and check out more in this series down that way. Thanks for watching. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our 33rd greatest move in chess history in our series, Analyze with Me 50 Greatest Moves in Chess History. We are looking at a game from 1900, so a long, long time ago. And if you've seen previous videos, you know that I like to make the claim that long time ago they knew how to actually sacrifice in chess. Partly joking, but also a little bit true, where if you look at old games, like they're just throwing pieces around the board. Nowadays with, chess engines and so much more information, they don't make the types of moves they used to. But okay, so we have reached the position. This is a pretty short game. And in this position, you can see from the evaluation bar that it is checkmate in 9 moves is what the evaluation bar says. But we'll talk about that more later. So mate 9 is a little bit difficult to find, even when you're told that it's there. But you have to consider that when this game was played, there was no evaluation bar because there was no chess software, because there was no software, because there were no computers. So yeah, a little bit different situation. So the person playing this game had to find this move in real life on a real chessboard. So take a moment and pause the video if you want to take a few minutes to try to figure out what Fox figured out in this game. Oh, did I say who it was? This is Fox versus Bauer, 1900. I'll put it in the show notes. Yeah, take a moment, pause it, write in the comments what you think it is, and we'll see what the move is. So here's the thing that I think is interesting, is that if you look at the exact same position on, in this case, this is a different evaluation board. The previous evaluation board said mate in 9, and now in the same position, we're told it's mate in 6. So I have the same engine running, so I don't know how it figured out how it drops from 9 to 6, but I guess that's how it works. So in this position, white uncorks the fabulous queen takes on g6 double exclam, which is, as you can tell from the evaluation bar, the correct move in that it continues the forced mate. So I'm sure when Black saw this move, he was probably like, what just happened? Because he can take back a couple of different ways, or he could not take it all, but they all lead to the end. So let's see what happens in the game, and then we will review a couple of the other options that Black could have chosen. So in the game, he does accept the sacrifice, and now White follows up with the second very nasty move, Knight takes on G6. So that G6 square is seeing a lot of action here. The idea here is that even though this knight move is not a check, the knight cuts off that square, the rook has cut off this row, and if you can get the rook to h8, that would be checkmate, because the king would have nowhere to go. So in order to give himself somewhere to go, there is only... Are there any other options? I don't think there are any other options here. There are no other options other than to take, so that's what he does. And now the very simple bishop to c4 check. You can block with the bishop, but it doesn't change anything. Move the king over, and game over, because as the arrows show, the bishop cuts off the diagonal, the rook is doing the attacking, and that would be how the game actually ended, with checkmate. Again, that doesn't usually happen with modern games. People just resign. I'm just kidding. That's fine. Okay, so what else could have happened in the game? In the game, White could have chosen to take back with the f-pawn instead, but that ends in a very similar manner with bishop takes on c4 check. And now, again, the bishop could block, but it doesn't help. The king is forced to go either to f, or the king could potentially go to h8. But either way, the same nasty move. Let's say that the king goes to, then you get the same very, very nasty knight to g6. So again, that g6 is getting a lot of action here. The idea being that the bishop cuts off, the knight's checking. Excuse me, the knight's checking. The only way out is to take the knight, and then you have basically the same checkmate with the bishop and the rook. This black bishop for Black is what is totally killing him. This is just in the wrong place at the wrong time. It's just cutting off everything, all the options for his king, for his rook, for just, you can't get anything involved in the game. Okay, so though that we just looked at what happens if the pawns take, and Black has to take this queen, because if the king just tries to move, then it's just mate in one. And the same thing for the other side. If he tried to go to the H file, then just mate in one. So that's why it was mate in 9, 6. Still don't really know. It was mate in 6. But that's why it didn't really matter what Black did. It was all over once queen takes on that g6 square. Very, very nasty. I kind of like the idea of, it would have been kind of fun if he had gone here, check, and then goes king into the corner. That would have been nasty too, right? That would have been a fun mate, the rook, keeping the pawn pinned down. Anyway, that was our 33rd greatest move. A lot of cool moves in that one, actually a couple of nice moves. If you're liking this series, then check out some more of our videos down there, and I hope you subscribe. Thanks for watching. Hello everybody, today we are in for a treat. Hopefully you're in for a treat, because today we are looking at the 32nd greatest move of all time. And this one is by Viswanathan, who was world champion for a while, one of the greatest players of all time, versus Bologan back in 2000. And if you haven't ever seen any of Vishy's games, he knew how to attack. Some of his attacks are just ridiculous. We'll see some of his other amazing moves later in this series. They're in some of the top moves of all time. So this one is still good. Definitely worth investigating, and we'll take a look. He's playing white, and as usual, when the pieces stop moving, that means we are in the key position. So there's a lot of shifting around of pieces here. This is a long game getting sort of set up, but Anand known for sort of taking his time to set up his attacks, make sure all the pieces are in the right place, and then execute with very lethal precision. So we have arrived. You can see that white is winning by 2.2. And in this position, he unleashes a savage move that is pretty hard to find. I don't know that I would have found it. It would have taken me a while, or it did take me a while. So pause the game if you need to. Write in the comments what your guess is for the line or for the move and for the continuation. And we will see what Anand plays in this position. So in this position, he plays the absolutely savage knight to f6, which is, it's just nasty, right? So the threat is obviously just to take the rook. And, if this rook obviously wants to get in the game, the queen wants to get in the game, this knight can hop in, this bishop, once you move this pawn out of the way, has threat. So, the attack is coming. Black sees what some of the options are, and so in the game, he actually chooses to just move his rook out of the way to not take the knight, which is a sound idea. I think that's actually the best move in the position. But Anand is known for not only having the cool sacrifice, but having the interesting follow-up. So in this position, he follows up with the, I don't know, it may be about as nasty as that first move, the very sick pawn to g6, which is also just super nice. There's so many ideas here. You would think, oh, you can take back multiple different ways, and we'll examine some of the options. And in the game, Black does choose to take back with the f-pawn, and now the follow-up is again a nice move, knight d7. And you just think, what's the idea here? That's just a sacrifice of a knight. Well, the problem is that Black has given up his back rank. He doesn't have any rooks back there. His queen is way on the other side of the board. And so therefore, if bishop takes knight, queen takes bishop, checkmate. So in the position, I got to get that bishop off the back rank. White picks up the rook, takes, and then you would think Anand here could just pick up the pawn. Don't care about the pawn. He doesn't care. The problem is that his back rank the Black's back rank is still it's in need of significant help. There's nobody back there to defend. Black makes a feeble attempt to give himself somewhere to go. Check. And then in this position, Black goes ahead and resigns. King out here, it's mate in two because the queen check, king back, and then it's all over. So that's what happened. That's what happened in the game. Let's examine what could have happened in other lines. So in this position, like I said, Black does not take the knight, but let's see what would have happened if he had taken the knight, and then the very simple pawn takes on f6, and you can see the evaluation bar go up even higher because the threat here is that it's Black's turn to move. Let's say that he, let's say that he pushes this pawn, right? He wants to attack this bishop and attack this rook. Well, the problem here is, can you see what the problem is? Yeah, just very simple. Queen to g5, right? And this back rank that showed up in the game, this back rank problem that showed up in the game is still present in this position because this rook is out of the game. This bishop is stuck, and if you try to get the bishop, if you try to go there with the bishop, you get mated. So you try to pull the bishop out with that, and it's still mate in one because then you just come in with that move. And the position shows mate in 4. Reason being is you can sack a couple pieces. You can go bishop there and then take. And then I think you can bring the rook over and then just take and mate. So you can delay it a little bit. So that's what happens if you take the knight on f6. So you can't take it again in the game. Rook, and then here's another option. So the pawn to g6 was where, you know, black again has another option. In the game, he chose to take with f, but if he tried to take with the h pawn, something very nice here is just queen over to h. This knight is defending the g8 square, so the king can't move there. King can't move up. You have to block. You go ahead and block with the rook, and I'll just take that rook. And then if you take back, and you're still in lots of trouble. No, that may be not even the best line here. Okay, taking the rook. That's good. Taking the pawn. Oh, I don't even care about taking. No, do I take the pawn? No, you don't take the pawn. So there's even a, see, I'm just autopiloting it. So there's a better move than just taking the pawn, which seems difficult to understand because it's taking the pawn with check. So the better move here I mean, you just threaten checkmate? No. Okay, so what's the better move? I mean, you can go queen to d8, but I can't imagine. Maybe 3.3. No, and 3.5. The evaluation bar is jumping around on me. I think that 3.8, 3.3. That seems to imply there's a better move. I mean, what else could you want to do here? I mean, knight jumping in, you just get taken. It's not like rook here, is it? No, that's nothing. Okay, 3.6 advantage. It's not, please don't tell me it's rook takes. Okay, sorry. Sometimes I have to try a move that, I don't know. The evaluation bar throws me off. Again, it's not just queen takes pawn. Why is it not just queen takes pawn? Is it like pawn push? Oh, see, I sort of thought about that. The reason, okay, so it's pawn push because now the bishop is an open diagonal to the king. So whatever black does, let's say he pushes the pawn. I mean, you could take. You just take? No. So now what do? Knight take with the knight? Oh, you take with the knight. Why do you take with the knight? Because then if rook takes, I mean, it's no good now. Oh, that's okay now? Huh. Interesting. So for some reason, pawn, queen takes pawn is a different, it's a good move, whereas earlier it was not. I am not a good enough chess player to know the difference. In this case, maybe there was a block. Okay, so then king to g8 is forced. I don't know. I mean, you could threaten checkmate, but then you would lose. Oh, you'd lose to rook takes. Okay. You don't take the rook, do you? Yeah, okay, you don't take the rook. So in this position, and this is why this series is called Analyze with Me, because I am trying to figure out what's going on here just like you are. Ooh, how about this? Rook to d2. Oh, man. I thought that was going to be it. Oh, because queen just takes bishop. Dope. Ooh. Is it just here? No, you just lose. It's not like that. Oh boy. Let's see. What's the move here? So rook takes on f2 is the move black wants to play. So in order to stop that, what's the idea here? Okay. So if the rook moves out of the way, then it's checkmate because the bishop and the queen. So can I force the rook to move? Or can I... It's not, you're not sacrificing the rook. Sorry. You're not... Where are you going? Because if you get your king out of danger, but please don't tell me it's like... Okay. What's the move? It's not... Please don't tell me it's a queen sack. It's not rook. No, because you're being attacked here. It's not like queen to f3 or something. Wow. He really does not like anything that I'm thinking of here. It's not like no, it can't be anything because of this attack. I'm literally just guessing at this point because I don't know. It's not a pawn push. What? Oh, come on. That's the move? Why is that the move? Because, because the check. But then you do what? You just step out of the way. And then what does black do? Because the threat is queen. And if you take, then it's just mate in 3 because you come with the bishop or the queen. You come with the bishop. The queen cuts off that square. King goes here, check. Oh, wow. Okay, and then the other idea is when you when you push the pawn, if bishop takes, pawn takes, and then it's a similar idea as check. I step out of the way, even if you take there. So the key, because okay, I learned something. The check doesn't matter. This rook check on f2, which I thought was going to be powerful, it just doesn't go anywhere because there's no follow-up checks and there's nothing to stop. Once you unleash the bishop on this diagonal, it's all over. Okay, well, if you stayed with us that long, thank you for watching. I hope you learned something. This was our 32nd greatest move of all time. That move was quite a while ago. It was a good move too. Just couldn't figure out what the alternative line was. So we have more videos in this series. I'm learning lots. Hope you are too. Like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Hello, today we're looking for the 31st greatest move in chess history. This is a game played in 1957 between Mikhail and Koblents. Tal is playing white. He is featured in a couple of our other greatest moves of all time videos because he was one of the most amazing attackers in chess history. He liked to create very powerful sacrifices that tore open the opponent's castled king oftentimes, and this is another example where he does this. So he's obviously attacking on the king side, and black has most of his pieces on the queen side. So we're going to see how white capitalizes on his position. He offers up a bishop there that does not get taken, a couple other sacrifices, and we're going to end up in a position where white is going to be dead even as he goes to make his amazing move. So we're there. White was previously just winning. If you watched the evaluation bar, it was just up about 2.5 points, drops back down to 0. But he has a couple of tricks up his sleeve, including the 31st greatest move of all time. So write it in the comments if you think you know what it is, and pause the game if you need some more time to analyze the position. Otherwise, we will move on. And in this position, white plays the amazing move, rook from h1 to h6. The evaluation bar didn't even register. Nothing happened. 0.0 to 0.0. So if you look at the evaluation bar, not an interesting move. Didn't do anything. But in the game, it did, because black has a lot of options, right? Like this knight cannot take the rook because it is pinned down by the queen. But this pawn could take. So, that could be an option. And then obviously black has a whole bunch of moves he can make here. He could check with the bishop. He could take the knight. He could push the pawn. All sorts of options. But if he doesn't make the correct series of moves, he will start to lose this game, and that is what happened. So let's watch what happened in the game, and then we'll talk about some of the other options. So in the game, he pushes the pawn, trying to break open the king. In this position, white takes the bishop, says, why not? Move the king out of check. And then black gobbles up that knight, which was free, but you can see from the evaluation bar, not the right move here. And that's because, again, you can see how black has all 4 of its active pieces. This knight is not active because it is pinned down. All 4 of its pieces on the queen side. An attack is maybe coming, but this is not fast enough to meet white's 4 pieces that are even closer to the opponent's king and are coming in fast. So in this position, white moves to rook f6, which again is offering up this rook. Black declines it again. Queen takes on g7 is a very nice move. when I was going through this game earlier, the evaluation bar said mate in 25 after that move, but now it just shows white winning by almost 10 points. So in this position, black goes ahead and resigns because, the king's in danger. How does he get out of danger? All he can do is go to king to e8 or king to e7, and then either way, just so many options here, right? Yeah, and it's, obviously this is going to be just a massacre. These rooks are just going to steamroll. This queen's coming in, all sorts of problems. So we're going to go back a couple moves and see what else black could have done after rook to h6. Because again, the evaluation bar is saying that black is totally fine here. So what else could have black done? So we'll look at the most obvious move is that what would have happened if black had simply taken that rook. You can see from the evaluation bar, no bueno, because bishop takes, check, and you can block the check if you want to. But then in this position, I believe the right move, so now this knight is pinned down, this rook is pinned down. I think, can you just take the rook? No, so that's an okay move, but not the best. Is it like, I think it's like taking, is it taking the pawn? It's definitely not, ooh, then you just get mated with all sorts of problems. Okay, so it's not taking, you don't take this bishop, do you? Oh, interesting. Apparently you're just like, hey, free bishop, I'll take the bishop. And then if black was to take the knight, oh, then it's just mate at 15. Ooh, whoops. Okay, so then let's say that black, what does black want to do here? I mean, his pieces are just so discoordinated. Discoordinated? Is that a word? Uncoordinated? Yeah, we'll go with that. I'm making up words here. What does black do to even have a chance? I'm not really sure. Let's say he takes the pawn. Just because, why not? So, what would white come crashing in here? Come crashing in with the rook? No, we don't like that. It's not the bishop, is it? Well, what is... Are you saving the knight? No, then it's a draw. Huh, I wonder why. Okay, so what does white do here? It's not something crazy like that. You just take the rook? Oh, yeah, free rook. Okay, and then if queen takes back, now mate in 11, check. Or no, it's not a check. Mate in 9, bishop check. There we go. If queen takes, then queen takes, and it's going to be mate in a couple moves. So in this position, let's say that, let's just say he goes here, and then it's, check with the queen, and eventually you can see how the white pieces are going to run over this black king. So we'll go back a couple moves and see if there's anything else for white to have, or black to have done here. Rook to h6. And then if black just wants to keep things neutral, you just sack the bishop. If the king tries to go underneath, I think, let's see, how would you sack to keep going here? Do you sack that way? Nope, doesn't like that, sorry. Do you just take the knight? Okay, just take the knight. And then I guess this attack by white, which he tries in the game, sort of no longer works. I wonder why. Can I just... How do I get out of it? Because you still can't take, I assume. Oh, now you can't take. Why? Oh, because the bishop is blocked. What happens if you go check here? It's still just a draw block. And then what does white do? If you can't take here, yeah, that'd be losing now. Okay, so it's just dead equal. I guess you could just trade off these pieces. The queen is no longer in the way, so... Oh, and you also have something like this. The queen to check here. So, yeah, okay. So that's a dead even game after if black had just played a different move. But, again, you can imagine how difficult the moves are to find in a position like this in real time with the clock ticking away. So that was our 31st greatest move of all time, rook to h6. Again, the evaluation bar, didn't even notice it, but ultimately it did win white the game after some other good moves to follow up. So keep watching our series by going to the series or the playlist bar over there. And we hope that you like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.